the Transportation Committee meeting to order Wednesday, January 16th, 2013. Ms. Secretary, let it be known that Mr. Oliver Joseph is absent tonight. Ms. Castle, would you please lead us in the invocation followed by the pledge?
Father, we thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight to do the business of the people of Ascension Parish. We pray, Lord, for guidance as we do this work, that we will always seek your will and work in accordance with it. I ask a special blessing tonight, Father, upon the family of Miss Audrey Wells. They lost their beloved mother on one of our dangerous roads. And for that, we ask that you'll comfort them at this in this very difficult time. We also ask your blessing on the Landry family, Father, who lost their daughter this week. Thank you, Father, again for this opportunity to do your business. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Terry. Anyone wishing to speak on any agenda item, please sign in with Ms. Liz. Move on to number 4, Road Department Monthly Update. Mr. Fairchild.
Thank you. Since our last meeting, we've worked 136 work orders. We've cleaned 1 mile of roadside ditches. We've vacuumed 2,500 feet of culverts with our vacuum trucks. And a lot of our crews in the past week or so have been working debris on roadside ditches and everything from ice chests and baseballs and litter, just about pile up in our covers. That's what most of our crews have been doing this past week. On our grass cutting lot violations, all those have been completed. We have 1 litter violation that's pending. We've sent them a letter and waiting on results of that. On our rain event, at its peak, we had 83 roads that were barricaded or closed off. At present, we still have 26, and all that is concerned with the high water at Bayou Manchac and Emmett River. And it's going down late this afternoon. We took off Oak Grove Parkway, so in the northwest part of the parish, it's starting to go down. So keeps up. Next week, everything should be back open. Also, we have a possibility of getting right at freezing tonight. We have our trucks loaded with sand, just in case we get a call for bridges icing over. We're ready to go. Waiting on the sheriff's office is going to monitor everything. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Fairchild. Give you a minute to look over the work orders. Do you have any questions? Mr. Fairchild?
Yeah, I got
Mr. Kluwer?
Yeah, Ronnie, on District 6 report, you got that you install a new road name sign and reinstall a stop sign, speed limit, and dead end sign. That's on George Road. I was just reading there's a
George Road, yes.
renamed it from what?
I'm not. I'll have to double check on that.
So no rename on it.
I don't have the report that you have.
Oh, that's all right. No, maybe just be the way I'm reading it. Thank you, sir. I want to thank you for replacing, I know there's several stop signs that y'all replaced in a very timely manner. We appreciate that.
Thank you. I'll pass it on to the crew.
Just another quick note. I know it took a lot of time and effort working with the state. I know a lot of those roads that were closed. Appreciate all the work and everything y'all jointly put together.
Appreciate it.
No other questions. We'll move on to number 5, road project status report. Ben?
Thank you. Good evening. We currently have about $14.3 million of parish-funded projects going. Roddy Road widening, 621 to 935. That one hasn't been bid yet. That's a in stage 0 feasibility study. And we've been meeting with DOTD to pursue future state and federal funding on the construction portions of that project. Roddy Road widening from 621 to 931. That's a $1.7 million contract. Construction's in progress. Anticipated completion is spring of 2013. There's actually a separate agenda item on this to add a little bit of time to the contract due to the weather we've had. Church Point at Roddy Roundabout. We're awaiting environmental document approval. Geometric review is complete. Right-of-way acquisition will start once the environmental approval is signed off on. And we're still shooting for that summer 2013 construction date. The 2012 maintenance project, we got bids in today, and we're hoping to get that project going soon, mid-February. Would be the contract negotiation period, and get construction going in March if possible. Pavement preservation program, the data acquisition is complete. This is the thing where we had the van drive around, scan all the roads, measure the distresses and road conditions for all the parish maintained roads. Consultant is working with IT to import the data into our GIS system, and that'll correlate with our work order system, and we'll be able to run analyses on that to determine which roads warrant treatment and where the budget will get us overall with maintaining the system. Next steps are to establish the analysis algorithms on that, so we will include in there the cost for different types of treatment, and then we'll be able to run an analysis based on the conditions of all our roads, and then come up with a priority list for next year's maintenance program. Highway 42 improvements, $4.2 million interlocal agreement with DOTD to fund the sewer improvements associated with the Highway 42 widening. We're revising the sewer design right now to locate lift stations into the DOTD-owned right-of-way. This saves us a lot of time because we don't have to go through the parish right-of-way acquisition portion of this. And we met with DOTD this week, had a great meeting, got everything ironed out with all the departments in DOTD that are looking at this, and we're full steam ahead on that strategy. The anticipated letting date for that is in March of 2013. So their plan is to let the clearing and grubbing and the utility work. So they'll go in, they'll clear the right-of-way that they've acquired. We'll install the sewer, which is out at the edge of the right-of-way, so it won't impede traffic while that's going in. And then once all that's done, then they can jump on the road construction, and it should go much more smoothly than what people are experiencing on Highway 73, just because of all that stuff being so confined on that particular project. Highway 73 sewer improvements, ongoing, and in association with that project, we have an RFP out to relocate 2 of the decommissioned package plants in the parish to serve where that sewer line's going in when it's completed. This is all part of the parish transitioning into having a sewer program, and this is one of the stepping stones to get us there. State projects update, there's $91.1 million of state-funded projects underway right now. US 61 overlay from 22 to 74 is $11 million. Anticipated completion in March of 2013. That got pushed back a little bit due to the weather we've experienced recently. 431 roundabout, $1.2 million. Supposed to be finished this month. They're really just kind of buttoning up things out there. All the major construction's complete. 431 intersection improvements, $4 million project. Construction start is this month. I don't know if they probably delayed a little bit with the weather. They were in their assembly period. And that's supposed to be completed in July of 2013. 42 widening project is a $50 million project. Right-of-way acquisitions are complete. I heard at the meeting this week that they've now acquired 145 out of the 145 pieces that they need to acquire. And like I said before, the letting date for sewer and the clearing and grubbing is in March, and the road construction letting date is in July of this year. 73 widening from I-10 to Airline Highway, $17.3 million project. It's 20% complete, 38% of the time has elapsed. So that's going a little more slowly than they would like, but the anticipated completion is still September 13. So hopefully when the weather improves, they'll be able to jump on it and catch back up. 431 Gold Place turn lane. Oh, let me add on the 73 widening. There have been a lot of calls about the section that they milled, and they did that in an attempt to improve the surface because it was it was rutting badly, so they milled it to try to get a smooth surface for people to drive on, and then they were going to come back and patch it. The weather interrupted their overall thing, so right now they're just kind of doing what they can to keep it together, and once the weather improves, they've got a more permanent fix to improve that. So I know a lot of people are looking forward to that. 431 Gold Place Turn Lane, $1.4 million project. The consultant SOQs are being evaluated by DOTD. That's for the design portion of that project, and I was told that they will have a selected consultant by the end of this month. And then from there, they need to get a contract, and then we'll get design going and be on our way ultimately to getting that built. I-10 cable barrier, all the cable barriers have been installed, and that contract, I think, is being closed out this month. 22 overlay from 44 to 75 is a $2.1 million project. Patch and overlay on the road along with some drainage improvements. It's supposed to get going this month. Again, the weather probably delay that a little bit, and anticipated completion is May of 2013. 61 access management project. This is along Airline Highway at 42. It's a $1.4 million project. Anticipated completion is March 2013, and there are some delays associated with the design revisions. They're modifying their original plans to try to accommodate some access issues that they ran into. Any questions?
Mr. Cloyd?
Yeah, I just want to thank you, Ben, for the update on the Gold Place, and I know it's been a long, hard road to get it in there with the state projects. And
That project predates me, so.
yeah, so we anticipate hearing from DOTD whenever they get the design down, and then have us let it out for a construction date. And I just want to recognize for everybody that's listening that I think correct me if I'm wrong, the 431 improvements includes at 61 at Brittany.
Correct.
That intersection, that will include turn lanes and all
Center
that.
turn lanes, both northbound and southbound. So.
Good deal.
Any other questions? Mr. Lambert?
Yeah, Ben, Parish President, the two sewer projects, are we in line with budget on them two, or did they go up? One's 3.2, one's 4.2. Is that where we were at?
The 73 sewer project actually went down a little bit. We change ordered out a force main that was part of the core plan to put the treatment plant on the BASF property on 30. We took that out as we work on the overall long-term strategy. So that one went down, I think, almost $300,000. The Highway 42 one, we have an end-of-the-state agreement for $4.2 million of sewer. The sewer construction estimates at this point are closer to $5 million. They're at $4.9 million, and that's part of, the design dialed in that number to what it is. The construction estimate will probably go up a little bit when we do this right-of-way lift station redesign, but we're also lowering the cost of property acquisition. We don't have to buy the right-of-way to accommodate that. So
Just make sure we're in line with the budget, There's quite a bit of difference. I thought 73 was closer to the 2-point-something million when we was talking. It was always over 3.
Always 3 points.
Okay. All right.
Good, Mr. President.
Yeah, I just want to also thank the state for all the work that's going on right now, and thank our legislature for a job well done. Highway 42 has been a road that's been around since the early 90s. At one time, it was the 6th most dangerous highway in the United States, and now we finally seeing some work being done on it, and hope to break ground sometime this year or next year, and I just think that's great. And also with 73 and on 431, the 6 turn lanes, the total on those projects is something that is going to also help alleviate a lot of traffic there. So we've been having a good relationship here with DOTD. They've done an excellent job here in the parish. We have several projects working with Ben and the MPO that we have on the list now, and hopefully in the next few years you'll see a lot more projects going on. So been a lot of hard work, but I want to thank DOTD and also our engineering department for doing a great job of communicating with DOTD. So
I agree with you. And I think you're looking at the numbers. I think it's close to $90 million worth of state highways are getting ready to taking place real shortly. So yeah, we do need to send them a lot of appreciation, giving us a hand with that.
Any questions, Ms. Gasso, or comment?
I'm not sure. I thought I had a question, and I think it might have passed it by. This is my opportunity, however, to, when I have to start off a public meeting with a prayer for a family that lost a loved one on a parish street or parish road that could not have been fixed had our transportation plan been enacted this quickly. Certainly couldn't have been, this one would not have been avoided. But it calls to mind and upsets me greatly for the young people of this community. We have a record number of children in our elementary schools who are going to learn to drive in Ascension Parish on inadequate roads. And there is no doubt in my mind that we will be praying in this chamber for the families of at least one, and maybe more, of those children as they learn to drive and as they begin their young adult careers and family lives and whatever they may be. All of that potential will be lost because we do not have some money from the state, and we appreciate that. The state is not going to fix our local roads. We have to do it with a very, very limited budget. And I just want to take this opportunity to speak to my constituency in the great part of this parish that is in North Ascension, in Dutchtown, where all our little wonderful children live. Please help us to find a path forward to be able to address the issue of our local roads. I don't want to start another meeting off with a prayer blessing a family that has lost their children. I don't want to do it blessing a family that has lost an elderly member of their family. It's just uncalled for. And I believe that we had a misguided opposition to what was a good transportation plan. And the result of that is going to have consequences. And tonight is a perfect example of what those consequences are, and the fact that as a governing body, we are responsible to find a way forward. Now, certainly, we will do that with the limited funds that we have. But at some point in time, we are going to have to go back to our public and hopefully not have to beg for the resources to repair and maintain and build good intersections where we can be sure that as few lives as possible. I mean, where there are cars, there's going to be accidents. But when the roads contribute, that's a burden of responsibility I just do not like to carry. And so I'm going to rest with that. But I had to express and beg my constituents to understand the price of inaction. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gasso, but, with heavy hearts, we understand where you come from.
One quick.
Yeah.
Mr. Lambert?
I would like to, echo on that a little bit, but also, make a public speak to the kids of this parish and the distractions that they have when they drive. Please put your phones down, this guy out of town, and he maybe needed his phone for directions, but you never know that. But please don't get distracted when driving. We got too many cars on this road. It's very dangerous. Please pay attention to what you're doing. I don't want to lose a kid or a grandkid. It is sad, very sad. So I'm pleading to the public to try to be careful. Thank you.
Mr. Cloy?
Yeah, just a quick note. I echo that, but also what we want to do is, since we didn't have the tax pass, is just basically everybody, all the administration and all departments and all the council and all the committees are digging deep and looking into their budgets, and we're going to try to divert as much money as we can to roads. but we're looking serious at a lot of services. And I guess on this committee, one service I want to question, I know it's been in question for several years, is that we keep up the grass cutting on the state roads. And that's a service that we provided, I guess, for the parish citizens on some of the local state roads. And there was a budget in there. I think Todd, that's back when, you know, before I got here, when you Dempsey might have been here. But anyway, our service, the level of our service is still there. But we're going in the hole with it because the money that's allocated by the state doesn't near about cover. I don't know the percentage, but it doesn't cover it. And, you know, that's money in that transportation department. That's money in our DPW that we could be pushing toward actual road improvements, road construction, or road maintenance. And I know, Parish President, I think you got a dedication to go back to the state and take a look at this and see what, if it means, if they can't afford any more money, do we have to cut back on the service on the amount of roads that we're going to actually cut grass on, you know? And, you know, so we're going to look, taxpayers have voted, and we're going to look and see what monies we have and what accesses we have to maintain our roads. I know we have a lot of parish roads that are not real wide, that they have grown in population on some of the smaller roads, that there's some of them that need to be widened, where you're talking land acquisition, you're talking a lot of stuff, right? It's a major thing other than an overlay. So, you know, that's something that's got to be looked at in the future. So, you know, we need a pretty decent budget to be able to move forward, because right now we're maintaining. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank the committee. Go ahead, Mr. Lyon.
Talking about that also, I think the plan that we need to come forward with, you know, I keep hearing tonight, I'm hearing parish roads, improve our local roads. The plan that we do need to come forward with is to improve the local roads and widen our local roads. The state is doing their part right now. They're spending $90 million. A lot of the plan that we had on the table for this tax was state highways. I think if we get a plan together to the people, I think they'll move on it, especially for
Excuse me.
parish roads.
Mr. President Ben, what state roads were we going to repair in the tax plan or work on?
Most of the intersections that we're going to get done were on state highways.
Well, a lot of them
Airline
were.
Highway, you had 42, you had quite a few. There was a lot state.
Well, if a local road comes up to a state highway, we are still responsible for the local intersection.
That's correct.
That's correct, and
So,
a lot of the
the fact that
roads,
it butted up against a state intersection doesn't make it a state road.
a lot of the roads were where parish roads come into Airline Highway in areas like that, and the Airline Highway widening, the money would have been used, it would have been match money that would have been
correct.
used in conjunction with the other program that we had talked about with the state monies that we would have gotten had we taken in a limited amount of those state roads. So we had all the intersections on Roddy Road were part of the program. So there were several local intersections and local roads in there, but it was a good mixture. But again, I understand where you're coming from. There was a lot of
You know,
misconception
I still push for a little
there.
part, or
Yeah.
maintenance of parish roads. I'm hearing tonight, you know, the
Yep.
funding is limited on what we can do for parish roads, you
Right.
know? And if we're to put a portion of that for parish, just a portion of it, I'm not saying put all of it.
Right.
A portion should have went to parish roads strictly for maintaining, which I tried to push for that, and we didn't get it. I think would have been a plus.
Well,
I agree with
could
you
have been,
completely.
Mr. Lamb, but I can assure you that what we presented evidently didn't work. So,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not going to argue with the fact.
I'm not
what you're
arguing, I'm
saying.
just, you know.
No,
since
we're
the-
just having a
since
healthy
the debate
discussion,
started,
yeah.
that's
Oh,
right.
we just discussing. I
That's right.
understand. And again, I'll just take this opportunity because, you know, since we've opened up this discussion, you know, one of the main things in what we're going to present to you as an administration, Randy brought out the grass cutting. I think Ronnie's got the numbers put together, and we basically lose about $150,000 to $200,000 a year cutting state roads. I mean, we could actually cut out an entire crew from our road fund if we eliminated that. Now, if you eliminate that, you're going to certainly get a lot of calls because people don't distinguish between a parish road and a state road, and they don't know that. But that's something that you're subsidizing. You are subsidizing that program.
Right.
Now, we're going to go to DOTD. We're going to ask, can you meet us? We have the numbers. We've got all the GPS with the miles and how much it cost us, and and we're going to go and ask for them to at least compensate us enough to where we don't lose money or lose a little bit of money, not double what it cost, what we're getting. So that's one of the part of the program that we're going to put with you. And of course, you're going to hear from Ray about the street program and identifying the different types of roads that we have in Ascension Parish or we'd like to see. Now, that's a program that we need to adopt, I think. It doesn't cost you anything. Basically, in the future, if there's a road to be built, whether it be state or parish, we know what we want that road to look like, and we know what kind of volumes that we would like to see travel on that road. So that's just part of looking. Just because the tax didn't pass, we still got to plan ahead. We're not stopping planning. We're going to continue doing what we're doing. Hey, you gotta do whatever we have. The resources that we have to continue looking for other resources. We can look for more grants. We can look for more types of state money. We can look at things in a way, but we limit it to about $7.5 million a year right now. Basically, we get 2/3 of a half-cent sales tax, which is $6 million. The half-cent is about $9 million now. And plus, we take the reserve funds, whatever's left over at the end of the year, if we have any reserves, we put that in, and it usually runs about $1.5 million. Now, as it sits today, we have 500 miles of roads in Ascension Parish that belong to the parish. Over the past 10 years, we've been taking in about 10 miles a year, and if we continue along that route, we'll never catch up. Right now, we go on a 37-year cycle. We all know we can sit here, a road will not last 37 years. So, one of our proposals, we're going to come to you with an ordinance and say, we're just not going to take any more roads into the parish unless they have some means of helping us maintain that road. Basically, what the state offered us was enough compensation to maintain that road for 40 years. So if a developer wants to build a subdivision, and he'll come in and we can negotiate with him, and that'll be part of it, of the ordinance. But I mean, it would be irresponsible of this body and myself to continue taking roads in, knowing that we're going to get further and further behind and won't have the money to maintain it. Now, hopefully, through some of the measures that we're taking, preventative measures, crack sealing and things like that, chip sealing, that we can bring that cost down. Because I've been listening to Ben for a few months now about the base of a road. When the base fails, that's where the cost. If you do the maintenance, preventative maintenance, then you come in and you save your base. Rather than spending $300,000 a mile to overlay a road, you're going to spend about 140,000 miles. So those are the type things that we want to certainly look at and trying to get to where we need to be. But it's a tough deal, as I said, and I don't think anybody here wants to go that route. But we have a decision that we have to make, and that's something that we're going to present to you. We're actually working on the ordinance now. We want to bring it to the committee at the next meeting and see if you want to forward it to the full council. So again, we just doing things now to do what we need to do to make do. We want to continue planning. We want to do the best we can with the dollars that we have as far as our transportation system. Right now, bottom line is that we're going to maintain. That's all we're going to be able to do. We won't be able to do intersection improvements. We won't be able to do the widening. We won't be able to do any of that type of stuff. All we're going to be able to do is build an overlay and hopefully plan ahead and see what happens. And then there's some other measures that some other councilmen I've talked to may bring forward in the near future. So, we're just going to gonna try to serve the people as best we can in the transportation with the dollars that we do have. So that's basically what we want to do, and that's what we're gonna come to you as an administration with.
Yeah, I realize we have to work within what I mean. Same as at home, you got to live within your means, and the same thing we got to do here. It's just unfortunate we got state and parish roads. A lot of people don't realize that we pay taxes for state, we pay parish taxes also. So it's just unfortunate. It is the roads that we travel on, So it's
Well, the bottom line is we spend about $7.5 million on maintenance a year, but we also spend around $6.5 million of our general fund actually to run the road and bridge department because we don't have any dedicated funds
that's right.
for that. So all your signs that you were talking about, the potholes, your ditches, all the other equipment, your vacuums and those type things, we take that out of our general fund. Now, even though our revenues are growing, the cost of everything else is also growing. I mean, you heard the other night about juvenile detention center. You see what that's costing. Incarceration's costing more. Criminal court costs are going to be more. So it basically eats up any increase that we've had. So we really don't have any extra money to put back on roads. So that's kind of the situation that we're in, and I just want you guys to realize it, and we do the best we can, and we kind of cut the as much fat out as we can possibly cut, and we're going to continue doing as much as we can to put in roads. But to find that many $150 million in cuts, that's not going to happen because we don't have that much to cut. So, if we cut 300,000, or maybe that's another mile of road that we can overlay, but that's still not going to be the answer to the $1 million question. Right. So,
and I do commend administration and DPW. They doing what they can, and do a good job for the funding that they do have. Ben and his whole staff. Thank you, sir.
Well, appreciate the conversation. We'll move on to number 6, resolution to approve the low bid for the 2012 road maintenance
Second.
project. Moved by Mr. Kluwat, second by Mr. Casso. Any discussion?
One discussion.
Mr. Lambert?
Ben, you and I have been talking, I guess, a couple of years on that little part of Variety Road from the bridge to on Cannon Road, from the bridge to Variety Road.
Right.
Was there any funding left that we talked that it was going to be some of the project that we had funding for the culverts if we had a little bit left?
Right.
Because the road is deteriorated real bad, and it didn't get resurfaced when the other part of Cannon got done, and we was going to try to get it done after we did the culvert job.
Right. We had $400,000 budgeted for that project. We used, I think, $148,000 doing the drainage improvements, and so the remainder of that's still sitting in that Cannon Road budget.
But we still have another project on the other end that we have to look
right.
at.
And so, I mean, we can reevaluate whether we want to put all of that into resurfacing that portion of Cannon, or do the drainage and see what we have left over for that. But also, the new pavement analysis that we've done. That I know that road's in bad condition. It's also a pretty heavily trafficked road.
Correct.
So those two things are going to help it, be early on in our maintenance program.
Okay.
And so it's.
Yeah, it does have one of our parish parks that take quite a few cars that goes to it during the spring. And okay, appreciate it, Ben.
Have a motion and a second. Anyone opposed? If not, resolution passed. Move on to number 7, resolution to adopt the Ascension Parish Master Street Plan. We're gonna move to Mr. Raymond and Parish President on this one.
Good evening. Agenda item number 7 is an item we talked about in December, which is a major street plan, or as we'll refer to a lot as a functional classification plan. Some of the slides we went through in December, just a real brief recounter of what a major street plan is, a thoroughfare plan, a functional class plan. It's an element that you can use in the planning process to assist with identifying roads by their use, by their class. There's 3 main types of functional classifications. arterial streets, collector streets, and local streets. The definition of each one is pretty much explains itself. Arterials are your main thoroughfares, your 42s, your Highway 30s, your US 61. Your collectors are like your Church Point, your Roddy Road that collects that traffic from your subdivisions and takes you to the major roads. And then you have your local roads, your subdivision streets that feed into the collector that then feed into the arterials. And what we have tonight is a proposal to identify what staff has created as a functional class map, a master street plan. We've gone through and broken each of those streets down into further subclasses, such as different types of arterials, different types of collectors, different types of locals. And again, some of those benefits are to help you ensure adequate right-of-way for future projects. It helps preserve corridors, minimizes the amount of land that may be required for road improvements, and helps provide sufficient area for access to drainage and utilities. A lot of folks forget that one of the parts of a road is to provide those utilities and provide those drainage to help serve properties along those roads. Also provides information to the public, provides information to you, helps you prioritize projects, and then will tie directly into our development process and then design for an infrastructure design standards. Here's just a brief glimpse of a close-up of that map that you have at your location. It's kind of hard to show actually on a PowerPoint presentation, but shows you the different types of classifications. The hot roads or the hot colors are your major or your bigger arterial roads, going down to your lighter colors, which are your collectors, and then broken down into your local streets. Associated with this plan is a definition of different types of cross sections that go along with each classification. A lot of the cross section is dependent upon whether it's an existing curb and gutter street or an existing open ditch street. And broken down, again, we have 12 different types of classifications, 4 types of arterials, 5 types of collectors, and then 3 types of local streets. Again, depending on whether they're urban or they're rural, which is defined about the area or service that they provide access to. The first of those is your urban arterial, which is an A2. You can see the cross section there. You know, this doesn't mean that the parish is going to go out and build to these cross sections. That's an ideal cross section that you would like to see if you're redeveloping, if you're doing improvement projects, that you want to build that cross section to. And the main thing to key on is the right-of-way requirement. This one shows at 90 feet. That's the outer edge to outer edge. A lot of folks don't remember what the right-of-way provides you is just a big footprint to put the road, to put your sidewalks, to put your utilities in, outside the edge of the curb or outside the edge of the pavement, which again is another major function of your roads, is to provide access to utilities, access to drainage, pedestrian and other types of elements inside that right-of-way. The next step down for your arterials is your suburban arterial, or SA1 as we call it. It goes down to a 70-foot right-of-way, and again, it's just dependent upon the area that it's serving. It's kind of getting out a little bit from the urban core, going through more of your subdivision areas, and then taking you back out to the rural areas. Again, the key thing here, this is a curb and gutter section, but the key thing is the right-of-way widths. Again, preserving that right-of-way, which will be dedicated through the development process when property is subdivided. Also, I wanted to note that the cut pages that I'll refer to, that you hopefully have there at your packet, shows you a lot more information. You know, what I was able to provide on the screens, it shows you the location of these types of roads, the mileage, and gives you a different view of the cross section that you're looking at there. The next one is the suburban arterial. This is an open ditch section. Still stays at a 70-foot right-of-way, but you can see the different styles there with the shoulder, the sidewalks, the area for open drainage along the edge of the road. Then we get into our rural arterial. This expands back out to a little bit bigger right-of-way section, 80 foot, more to accommodate probably the drainage aspects of being in the rural area, and the higher speeds for that section of roadway. As you're going out, you're going to see an increase in speeds, an increased need for safety. Then there's the rural arterial number 2, again a 90-foot right-of-way, just a little bit different cross-section shown there. This one has a left turn lane that I believe is different than the previous section. An urban collector, these are your church points, your Roddy Road, something that we'll ask you to make an amendment to the map here in a minute. We show Roddy Road as a rural collector. We'd like to change that to an urban collector. And what that help does is, as we go to the state for different types of funding, it helps keep us consistent with their type of designation, and hopefully will allow us to seek federal funds for redevelopment or expansion of Roddy Road. A suburban collector. This drops down to a 50-foot right-of-way. It's a curb and gutter section, and you can see the cross-section there. Roughly about 13 miles of roadway that are classified as currently as a suburban collector. Then we have the suburban collector number 3. This is an open ditch section, 58 foot of right-of-way. And then we have a rural collector, goes to a 60-foot right-of-way, curb and gutter section, and a rural collector number 2, which is again a 60-foot section of roadway. And then we break down into our different types of urban locals, and again these are mainly based on a curb and gutter versus a open ditch section. And they range from a 50-foot section to a 60-foot right-of-way section. The urban local 2, then we have a rural local 1, and then a rural local 3. Some with shoulders, some without shoulders, kind of dependent on the area that it's serving and the function that it's serving. This is just part of the step in the process to create this major street plan. Adoption of a major street plan by ordinance, and then we reconcile that with the development code to change the right-of-way sections to reference that, and again then to put this in action. Again, the major step here is to preserve right-of-way, to identify priorities, and a variety of things, just as we talked about this evening as far as transportation infrastructure goes. Any questions?
Go ahead, Castle.
Our suburban arterials, I hope this does not reflect that suburban arterials are always 2-lane. I don't want to be reading more into the pictures here than I should.
I mean, that's a recommended cross-section. I mean, you have 70 foot of right-of-way. So the difference with actually changing that would be to go to a underground drainage, and then you could expand that roadway.
My concern is it's certainly 621, which, you know, crosses our parish and is a major source of congestion, and having some vision for the future that road might need to be expanded or widened, certainly, in such a way as to make it possible to transgress this parish without having to stop every few feet. What are we looking at with that? I mean, would that still maintain this as a suburban arterial?
I mean, this is what we went through when we looked at the existing uses of these roads, looked at traffic levels that they are now, tried to project forward, and looked at some of the information that DOTD has done as far as their classification. And the long term, this map is going to change, and to say, you know, and if it's the will of this committee and the council, you know, we can revise this map to come in line with our actual vision for the road network. This was our first pass on this, and something to start the conversation to get something on paper. So you know, I hear what you're saying, 621, and even in the transportation program we submitted, 621 was one of the widening projects, and that was going to go to a 4-lane section. That's not reflected in this, but it's certainly something that could be, and you know, that's part of why we're bringing this in front of you guys to have this discussion.
Well, I would personally appreciate, and I hope that the gentleman here would agree with me, that if we're going to do something like this, I'd like to see it reflect a vision for the future and not get bogged down, because when we put this on paper, that every time we go to the public and try to make a change, we have a fight to the death. And if we've got to do it, let's do it once. And that way there'll be less blood on the floor. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. President. That's yours.
This is a plan for the future. You know, what I'd like to see happen here is that this body looks at this maybe over the next month, then send it to the council, have the council send it to the planning commission, and let the planning commission basically refine this, and then bring it back to the full council with the recommendations. So that's kind of the way I see this developing. And what we need this for is, in the future, when we do have development, let's say they build 20 new schools in the next 20 years. We need to know what we expect that road to look like. And when that road and when that school is built, then they would have to go out and get that amount of right-of-way, make those improvements in front of that school to look like what we voted on here, and this street needs to look like in the future. Same thing as any development, same thing as any huge shopping center, to whereas we can make that person go ahead and build that road to those standards, and at least make sure that we have the proper amount of right-of-way in place. So we need to have this plan. I'm not telling you we need to adopt it tonight. I'm not asking that. I'm asking that we need to think this thing through. We need to kind of let the rest of the council, I think, kind of start looking at this, and then we take it from there, have the council send it to the planning commission, then back to the council. That's kind of the way I'd like to see this happen.
Definitely agree.
Ray can work with them, and the planning
Right.
you know, I'll
Appreciate that, Mr. President. Go ahead, Mr. Glover.
Yeah, Ben, on this, you've named a certain amount of roads in each category. That's not necessarily all the roads that we have, right? Or not?
This classifies all the roads, essentially all the roads. The ones that aren't one of the colors, those are the local roads that
Dead end.
aren't through streets, that aren't,
Dead end road.
right. They're not going to be,
I'm kind of looking through, I'm not seeing Highway 935. Did I miss it? Tell me where it's at.
it's on there. It's a green RC2, Rural Collector 2.
Okay, it's a what?
Rural
RC2?
Collector 2, RC2.
Okay.
So kind of a open ditch section, similar to what it is now, but you know, to a standard.
Oh, I see it now. You got it on Stringer Bridge. Okay. So in other words, I guess just to fall short of, I don't have a problem passing it on. We do have room to change and make changes later.
It's gonna come back to us.
Yeah, I know that. That's what I'm saying. I want to make sure.
And part of the, you know, going through this, we didn't want to come to you and say, you know, all these roads should be 4 lanes. At some, you know, 100 years out, who knows, right? But
Yeah.
we tried to
Be realistic.
use discretion and realistic, take a realistic approach to, you know, where we are and looking out a 20-year window. And so that's kind of the window that we were looking through.
That's good.
Mr. Lambert, you had anything?
No, I'm good with it.
Just one thing, Ray.
Yes,
The
sir.
amount of right-of-way, I see you give some leadway with different classifications?
Yes, sir.
Are we gonna have to stick, can we maneuver on some of this, or is this gonna be written? Because, I mean, there's some things that we can retrofit and, won't shock the whole system. I mean, but what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm not sure of all the parish processes yet, and I don't want to speak too much out of turn, but you have the right to vary as a council, anything like the planning commission does. So if a right-of-way doesn't fit a certain situation, then you can always look at changing that or updating that or providing a give and take with a procedure, a variance procedure for a particular development, if that's what you were asking.
Right.
Or you can always change this map. I know that may be difficult, as has been pointed out, but you always have the ability to come back and look at those maps. Are you meeting your intent, and to change that?
And I'd like to add also, in a lot of places where we've designated these urban classifications, the right-of-way is actually narrower than some of the existing roads. I mean, parts of 431 have significant right-of-way. These urban sections, because they're curb and gutter, they're closed drainage, we're able to tighten that up a little bit. So we have less of an impact on the existing property owners. But we're trying. I mean, the goal here is to kind of set that right away throughout the parish of what the target is, and hopefully achieve consistency along that entire corridor for that designation.
Very good. Parish President?
Basically, we don't have to go back 2 or 3 times for right-of-way. I mean, it's kind of like 431. The state had the right-of-way, and then, we put sewer, and we got to go back and get right-of-way. I mean, if you allow an ample amount of right-of-way in the planning part of it, then you won't have to do that. And that'll allow in the future for us to have our infrastructure, particularly sewer, that we're looking at for the entire parish. So, if anybody builds along that section of road, they're going to have to give that type right-of-way to us, and then that's less right-of-way we're going to have to acquire, and we'll have enough room. That's what this is all about.
Right.
We're not looking at what's happening today. We're looking down the road here, and that we need to prepare. This is a blueprint. It's a guide, hopefully for the way we'd like to see the roads look in 20, 25 years from now. So that's what this is about by adopting this plan. It's kind of like zoning. I mean, you can change it. It's going to be a living document that you can change. I mean,
Right.
And I think that's important too. So.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was coming up with the sewer plan. That's could alter some of these roads somewhat, and like you said, it's a living document where you can do it one on one when it comes time. If the sewer, fits, and you can narrow it a little bit, you can, I don't see any issues changing as we go, But the sewer is a big issue, yeah.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move, we support the resolution, or if you want to support, move it on to
Motion.
the,
Need a
Second.
motion, yeah.
To move it to the full council for review.
move by Councilman Kluwat, second by Councilman Todd Lambert.
Wait, I think Parish President wanted it to actually go back to give it to the council, but I don't
Yeah,
think
I
it's
think
for approval
what
yet.
needs to happen, what I'd like to see, to let everybody, I mean, you want everybody to be aware of this. I'd like to send it to the council, let them make a presentation to the council,
That's what my
and then,
motion was.
yeah, and then
Move
ask
to
the
full
council,
council for review.
one of y'all maybe, after they review it, send it to the planning commission, come back with a motion to send it to the planning
Sure.
commission, then back.
Then come back, that's correct.
That's what my motion is,
Moved by
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Kluwat, second by Councilman
Move to the
Lambert.
full council for review.
Any opposition? None, motion passed. Move on to number 8, approval of change order, number 1 for Roddy Road Improvement Project for additional days on contract. Ben?
So-
Right. This contract started back in, I think, September or October. Since then, we've accumulated approximately, actually 30 days of weather delays and 15 days of utility delays. This is amend the contract to add 45 days. There's no change in cost.
So moved, Mr.
Moved by
Chairman.
Councilman Lambert, second by Councilman Kluwat. Any opposition? None, motion passed.
Motion adjourned, Mr.
Moved
Chairman.
by Councilman Lambert to adjourn, second by Councilwoman Casso.
Caso, go for it.
We adjourn.